Right next to Mumbai's towering skyscrapers lies a thin, often overlooked boundary marked only by a narrow canal. Cross it, and you enter a different world, one labeled a slum, but pulsing with a life of its own, crowded, chaotic, and unyielding. At the heart of this maze, women aren't just surviving, they're carrying a world most people choose not to see. Follow us as we peel back the tin roofs of Dharavi to uncover a survival story the headlines never told. Number 1. Dharavi Slum. Spans only 2.39 square kilometers, and each square meter carries the weight of 340,000 people, nearly 10 times downtown Mumbai's density. That mind-bending figure plays out daily for 700,000 to 1 million residents squeezing through lanes barely 60 centimeters wide, sleeping in stacked rooms that resemble beehives. Calling Dharavi a slum and moving on would erase an entire micro-universe. One can't sip ginger tea beside a 300-year-old mosque, round a corner to a Ganesh shrine glowing with incense. Step a few yards farther to a public primary school, a Kohli fish market, even a Wi-Fi cafe. This tight web offers nearly every service in-house, allowing Dharavi to operate as a parallel city, pulsing alongside the glittering skyline beyond its tin roofs. That pulse is driven by over 5,000 workshops and 15,000 one-room factories. Daylight hours see thread spinners, soap cookers, and leather tanners at work. Nightfall ignites plastic furnaces that recycle almost 80% of Mumbai's discarded plastic. About 1,200 tons every day. The yearly turnover already exceeds $1 billion, an unrecorded revenue stream. Mumbai simply cannot forfeit. Dharavi also scrubs the megacity clean, turning mountain-sized rubbish into reprocessed plastic and export-grade leather. Roughly 1/4 of all residents survive on recycling. Largely women and migrants laborers, seldom hailed as environmental champions even as they tackle the metropolis's dirtiest, most toxic jobs. In 2025, officials endorsed an $11 billion redevelopment blueprint aimed at converting these streets into a gleaming business district. Projections suggest the population could dip below 500,000 after relocation. Opportunity or peril? The verdict hangs in the balance. Before bulldozers and blueprints arrive, we must understand how Dharavi breathes day after day. That story begins with its relentless battle for clean water, the focus of the next chapter. Number 2. Clean water and sanitation. Long before daylight, lines of women twist through Dharavi's 60-centimeter lanes, yellow cans knocking their knees. The public standpipe may flow for fewer than 6 hours. Miss that short pulse, and a family must purchase tanker water at 750 rupees each month. A Praja Foundation audit in May 2025 shows the gap even after the Water for All campaign authorized 15,375 new connections. Slum homes receive barely 5.5 hours of supply, averaging 45 liters per person per day, only 1/3 of India's own standard. Leaking valves, illegal branches, and a citywide deficit that peaked at 15% last summer keep the taps temperamental. When the flow falters, hygiene depends on communal toilets blocks that are in many cases literally falling apart. Across Mumbai's slums, one cubicle now serves more than 1,400 users. Worse neglect has turned several concrete hulks into death traps. Collapsed walls and septic tanks bursting with methane have claimed lives and mangled limbs in Mahim and Kurla within the past 2 years. An updated survey finds 69% of these blocks lack running water. 60% stand in total darkness after dusk, and only 1/4 of seats are earmarked for women. Each visit becomes a choice between dignity and danger. Pay 3 rupees to queue or wait until nightfall, and pray the alley stays quiet. On the other hand, the Slum Sanitation program launched with World Bank money in 2001 built 750 toilet blocks, offering 26,379 seats for nearly 500,000 notified residents. Simple division means roughly 1 seat for 190 people, far from the World Health Organization guideline of 1 for 50 that Mumbai's civic body accepts on paper. The burden eases slightly because some households patronize 30,000 free stalls run by the State Housing Agency or pay-per-use kiosks, and a stubborn fraction still resorts to open ground. Rising incomes, broader schooling, and a hunger for privacy now fuel a groundswell of demand for private single-family toilets. The only sustainable answer many activists endorse. Until that dream flushes through every wall, every leader hauled, and every door that locks remains a weary negotiation with a citywide infrastructure deficit. Number 3. Suffocating living space. Living among hills of sour-smelling rubbish is harsh enough. The spaces people occupy inside Dharavi squeeze the breath as well. Push aside a rattling sheet metal door, and you meet a flat, scarcely 7 to 9 square meters that must serve as kitchen bedroom and wash stall for 5 family members. A bunk frame clings to one wall, a kerosene stove crouches opposite the remaining centimeters, swallowed by plastic drums and drying clothes. Such hive cells form the rule for more than 800,000 residents. Outdoors, the lane is often 60 centimeters wide. 2 strangers struggle to pass, let alone a stretcher. Once heavy rain arrives, that slit turns into a brown ribbon of water, forcing neighbors to wade ankle-deep before reaching the main road. Satellite logs from the World Resources Institute show tin roofs in Dharavi, running 3 to 4 degrees Celsius hotter than the high-rise quarter next door throughout the dry season of 2024. That record heat wave took roughly 300 lives across India, with informal settlements ranking as the most vulnerable zones. Waiting for official relief is not an option, so women have crafted a sub-$10 air cooler. They brush roofs with reflective white paint, then tuck recycled water pouches under the sheeting. Evaporation drops indoor readings 3 to 5 degrees, according to a Mahila Housing Trust brief from 2024, enough for infants to sleep longer, and tailors to stitch an extra hour before heat fatigue sets in. 1 coat of paint and a few water bags cannot widen an alley or thin a crowd, though. At first light, residents hoist yellow cans and re-enter the maze for the day's water hunt. Their next clash is with waste plastic that blocks each corner while also paying the bills. Trash, not wages, fuels the local economy, and that gritty arithmetic shapes the chapter ahead. Number 4. Recycling economy. Dharavi is often framed as a slum, but at its core, it operates like a vast industrial engine. One built not of steel and glass, but of salvaged plastic, discarded fabric, and lived ingenuity. Estimates suggest that this dense maze of workshops recycles between 50 to 80% of Mumbai's solid waste, a scale large enough to impact the city's ecosystem directly and silently. The heart of this machine is a cluster known locally as the 13 compounds, named after the original 13 plots established decades ago to handle textile mill byproducts. What began as an improvised response to industrial leftovers has since matured into a formidable informal economy. Today, these compounds house thousands of micro-units, most no larger than 2 to 300 square feet, where workers strip wires, melt plastic pellets, press leather, sew garments, cure rubber, make metal rings, roll incense, package spices, and weld zippers, all in relentless shifts from dawn until well after dark. What sets Dharavi apart is not just scale, but intimacy. Mobin, a third-generation recycler, explains that the secret lies in experience, inherited skill, and local logic. Knowing the exact temperature to melt a bottle cap without ruining its color, or how to reshape a used toothpaste tube into a phone charger casing. Labor here is cheap, but expertise is priceless. The city benefits immensely. Dharavi collects, sorts, and processes waste that Mumbai's municipal services cannot or will not touch. Without this invisible workforce, much of that trash would end up incinerated, buried, or drifting out to sea. It's a service delivered with no contract, no headline, and no formal recognition, but one that props up an entire metropolis. As we look deeper into this hidden economy, the question is no longer whether Dharavi is a slum. It's whether Mumbai could survive without it. Number 5. Little Sister App. After 8 o'clock, Dharavi's lanes shrink into a chain of blind spots. Each alley is scarcely 60 centimeters wide. Most street lamps flicker or stay dark, and the shadows run the length of a cricket pitch. Police logs in the Times of India record that in 2024 offenses aimed at women across Mumbai rose 12.8%. Officers flagged informal settlements like Dharavi as the most exposed zones. The threat is rarely a stranger alone. Domestic violence, India's quiet epidemic, thrives behind those tin doors because national polls reveal more than 1/2 of women still view certain forms of spousal abuse as acceptable. The toll shows up as anxiety, post-traumatic stress, and risky pregnancies, while children who witness it often grow into either abusers or victims. To tilt that balance, public health NGO Sanitation built the discreet smartphone tool, Little Sister. One tap lets a resident of Dharavi send an SOS, pinging trusted contacts within 200 meters. Record audio or video in secret with footage vaulted to the cloud even if the handset is broken. And chat with trained counselors who sketch a safety plan at the survivor's own pace. No judgment, no forced exit. Rolled out mid-2024. Little Sister has logged more than 5,000 downloads inside Dharavi. Early tracking shows a 30% jump in women seeking formal counseling after first testing the waters through the app. Field workers say this digital shoulder often leads to medical aid, police reports, or group therapy. Whatever step the woman feels ready for. An app cannot widen an alley or mend a lamp, but it can shift power, turning a silenced victim into a documented case and sometimes a courtroom conviction. Whether tools like Little Sister will survive the sweeping redevelopment we explore next is a question that now sits on every handset in the maze. Number 6. Multiculture. You may have heard of Indian culture through the rich aroma of curries, the vibrant folds of colorful saris, or rituals thick with incense and symbolism. But in Dharavi, that cultural mosaic is not only bright, it's densely layered, tangled, like the narrow alleyways that hold it all together. Within just under 2 square kilometers, people from across India have made their homes, bringing with them their languages, religions, and daily habits. On a single morning in the market, you might hear Marathi, Hindi, Tamil, and Gujarati all spoken at once. And it's the women who navigate these tongues like second nature, switching seamlessly to trade vegetables, negotiate access to water, or simply maintain peace between neighbors of different faiths. Festivals in Dharavi come thick and fast, blending and overlapping. Ganesh Chaturthi rolls in with thunderous drums and massive idols of the elephant-headed god. Soon after, the scent of biryani fills the alleys for Eid ul-Fitr. Then comes Navratri, where music and Garba dancing light up the neighborhood for 9 consecutive nights. These aren't just sacred days, they're also economic lifelines. Women cook from dawn till night, from sweet modak dumplings to fiery biryani, and squeeze inside hustles by applying henna, selling flower garlands, or frying snacks, lifting household incomes by up to 25 to 40% during each festive season. Culture here is not just celebration, it's survival. But the story doesn't end with tradition. Dharavi's younger generation is redrawing what identity means in the slum. Wild Wild Women. India's first all-female hip-hop crew was born in Mumbai. They rap in 3 languages about gender-based violence, cultural pressure, and the right to simply exist. And they teach local girls how to write lyrics and spit bars pulled straight from their cramped realities. Behind all that brightness and creativity, though, tradition weighs heaviest on the shoulders of women. They are the ones who light the lamps, stir the pots, coordinate the prayers, and bridge communities while sacrificing personal time, rest, and peace of mind. A girl may hold the mic and rhyme about freedom on a Saturday night and still sit through dowry discussions with her relatives on Sunday morning. In Dharavi, women don't just live with heritage, they carry it. Number 7. Massive migration. Since as early as 2002, the Maharashtra state government has repeatedly announced its intention to redevelop Dharavi, widely considered the largest slum in Asia. But it wasn't until late 2022 that the plan finally gained real momentum when Adani Realty won the bid to lead the project with an investment commitment of over $1.6 billion. The goal is to transform the dense, deteriorated sprawl into a sleek, mixed-use urban district with high-rise housing, corporate towers, and modern shopping zones. The project is expected to affect nearly 1 million people, including thousands of informal workers and tens of thousands of small manufacturing units. Under the proposal, residents who can prove they lived in Dharavi before 1995 will be given new apartments in high-rise buildings free of cost. But nearly 40% of current inhabitants may not qualify. Those who moved in after the cutoff might receive temporary rent support or face relocation without guaranteed resettlement. This has sparked deep concern and resistance. For many, the fear isn't just about losing a roof. It's about losing a community. Families who have lived for decades in 10 by 10 rooms rely on tightly knit neighborhood networks for everything. Sharing water, babysitting children, emergency care. Moving into a vertical tower, many say, will erase these invisible safety nets. One woman summed it up bluntly. It's crowded, but at least someone knocks on your door when the power goes out. In parallel, the fate of Dharavi's informal economy hangs in the balance. Thousands of small-scale businesses, recycling hubs, leather workshops, food stalls, tailors operate in cramped spaces barely 200 square feet. If the redevelopment fails to offer an alternative for their operations, entire families may lose their only source of income. To the government, the plan represents a leap forward, a chance to modernize Mumbai and elevate its global image. But for residents, it's a gamble. In exchange for elevators and concrete walls, they risk losing not only their homes, but also the fragile self-built ecosystem that has sustained them for generations. What happens when a city's oldest informal economy meets its newest vision of progress? That question looms large, and Dharavi waits for the answer. Number 8. Climate crisis in Mumbai. On May 26, 2025, the monsoon barreled into Mumbai. 16 days ahead of schedule, and the Indian Meteorological Department hoisted a red alert. The announcement echoed across tin roofs while lightning cracked overhead, and rooftops rattled, signaling that months of relentless rain had begun their siege. Radio announcers recited millimeter forecasts, but slum dwellers translated those numbers into memories of waist-high water and ruined mattresses. Within minutes, Dharavi's 60-centimeter lanes filled ankle-deep, then knee-deep as drains clogged with plastic cloth offcuts and rotting food. Municipal trucks seldom arrived, so so informal crews of women hauled debris by hand for 30 rupees an hour. No gloves, no masks, and contaminated water swirling around scraped ankles meant every shift carried a quiet threat. Children floated discarded thermocol sheets as makeshift rafts, laughing until sharp tin pieces sliced their feet. And inside workshops, machines stalled because submerged motors silenced conveyor belts along with daily wages. By late June, health officers logged 884 malaria cases and more than 300 dengue infections, nearly doubling last year's toll. Power outages multiplied panic because fevers spiked while ceiling fans fell silent and refrigerators warmed life-saving medicines. Flooded toilets compounded the emergency. 81% of women reported no safe place during menstruation once floodwater breached their doorways. The lone health post itself, perched on stilts, overflowed with patients clutching soaked prescription slips and portable fans, while nurses worked double shifts yet watched anti-malarial stock vanish after only 3 rainy nights. Community defenses, although improvised by residents without formal aid, rose surprisingly quickly across the maze. Floodwatch sisters streamed live video of submerged intersections mapping shallow routes for school children and seniors. Tiny health kiosks distributed oral rehydration salts, chlorine tablets, and gauze, while WhatsApp groups updated medicine supplies block by block. Scientists link the early deluge to warmer Arabian sea waters, and residents wonder how many more monsoons their patchwork defenses can withstand. Every small victory feels temporary, washed away by the next cloudburst that arrives without warning. Some talk of concrete embankments and mechanical pumps, though financing documents move slower than the creeping brown tide, until policy catches up with precipitation. Survival depends on plastic buckets, shared passwords, and an unshakable faith in collective effort. Number 9. Dharavi's living mosaic. Stepping back from every alley and rooftop we have traced, you realize Dharavi refuses every single story label. You came expecting poverty. You leave holding a mosaic of ingenuity, exhaustion, humor, and nerve. You see women switching among 3 languages while they broker water at dawn, then turning the same hands toward henna artas that floats their household budget during festival weeks. You watch tin roofs radiating furnace heat, but painted white and packed with water pouches that cool a room enough for a toddler to nap. You glimpse drains choked by plastic, then meet the recyclers who melt that very plastic into pellets that keep Mumbai's economy spinning. Each problem appears in brutal clarity. Toilets that collapse, malaria that doubles with the monsoon. A redevelopment blueprint that may sever neighbor from neighbor. However, each crisis is met by an improvised counterforce. A floodwatch livestream. A Little Sister safety ring. A hip-hop verse that names every unspoken rule. Dharavi's strength is not comfort, but circulation. Money languages scrap stories, even microbes move fast, and the community responds faster. The lesson you carry out of the maze is uncomfortable and hopeful at once. Cities are rarely broken in just one direction and never fixed by a single glass tower. Real resilience grows from people who rethread what others discard, who turn alleys into parade routes, who shout warnings about rising water, even while bailing it out. If you want to measure progress, do not count only square feet of new concrete. Count also the minutes of shared laughter. The liters of water carried the lullabies that rise above generators. Dharavi lives on those metrics hour after hour and invites any planner or passerby to learn the rhythm before rewriting the map. Dharavi echoes like a drumbeat no rain can mute. It shows that survival is not an endpoint, but a tempo. Walk out of the maze and it follows you. A reminder that a city flourishes only when it honors the hands that sand its rough edges into opportunity. If you're hungry to explore more hidden worlds like this one, Scroll through our channel and don't forget to hit like and subscribe.